Are you able to see my presentation screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. So on the final day, uh, we are seeing the heritage of Dravida temple architecture. The last 6 days, we have covered evolution of temples, Vimana, the components of its building, superstructure, mandabas, gopuras, and with that learning, we yesterday analyzed the innovations of Pallavas in terms of how they created the cave mandavas, monolithic rathas, structural temples, and variations in structural temple. And we also saw some engineering aspects of the temples. So this day 6 was possible, and then you got a fantastic feedback saying that it was an excellent session, primarily because you have already understood all these things. If I had taken the same presentation as the first presentation, it would have been received very badly and say that I don't understand. It is good, nice to look at, but nothing beyond that. Now you are able to appreciate each and every finer point of temple. So that is the value addition this course is giving you. Today we are continuing the journey into the last part. What Pallava did it in terms of basic innovations. Later on, Cholas and later Pandyas took it and then expanded it to bigger areas. So today we are going to see the Chola and Vijayanagar expansion. In terms of coverage, we'll be talking about some of the Chola engineering and what kind of architectural innovations they did. And we are going to see some of the early Chola temples, how um, they structured in a live visual way. And of course, we are going to cover a little bit about four grand Chola living monuments. The four biggest temples in Tamil Nadu, built by Cholas in a short period of around 100, 120, 200 years. Then we are seeing some of the later Pandya developments and move on to Vijayanagara temples where the focus was more on gopurams and then ponds and other infrastructure. And let us also have a peek on how the modern temples are getting developed in Tamil Nadu. And with that, we will end up with a summation for this training. So the first segment is Imperial Cholas. Cholas have been there from old Sangam and other times, and there have been a lot of evidence about their talks from old times. But their prominence, they were as vassals during the 600 to 800 series, and then they were under Pallavas or supporting others. Whereas when they rose to power around 800, the Pallavas are no longer there, they are missing here. And their prime opponent was Chalukyas to the north, and to a certain extent, ACDC kind of a relationship with Eastern Gangas and Eastern Chalukyas. So Cholas almost ruled the Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and then they had a fairly good reach up to this area. What they did was the standardization of the temple building, and then they did it in grand scale. What Pallavas did it in small temples or innovation design in selected number of temples. They expanded it all over Chola Empire in a grand way. So the hallmarks of Chola are the well-dressed granite structures. So another major change is that from Pallava initially they tried with the sandstones and other stuff, which did not last long. One reason is primarily sandstone is easily available in that region. Later on, Cholas saw what erosion can do to sandstone, and then most of the Chola temples were conversion of the old temples into granite structures, and then their finished structuring and everything is very complete. And the pillar, lion motive pillars, which were the hallmark of Pallavas, was missing till the very late Chola period. Their focus was in terms of temple, on the outer walls and the ornamentation, Adhisthana, and in Hara components. They added lot of new small elements and then made it more beautiful. And the temples become very big with big vimanas. So during Chola time, the vimanas were going out of proportion to whatever small gopuras are there. Gopuras will be one-fourth vimana will be three times kind of an height. And the early Cholas did lot of experimentation in miniature sculptures. And to a certain extent, it continued in Darasaram and in some other temples also. So, in the exterior walls, there are created more space with more costumes, and the remaining space was used for doing lot of inscription. Chola period is very famous for inscriptions. So, they deliberately left certain areas open for inscription only. So, the major temples are Tanjavur Bragadiswari temple, Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, and Dharasuram. So these are the um, three living monuments of Chola and declared as a World Heritage Site. In Tamil Nadu, we have only two World Heritage sites. One is the Mahabalipuram group of temples. Other one, Chola living monuments. These three temples. Technically, Tirupovanam also should have been there, but they escaped the World Heritage definition by doing painting of the temple overnight to lose the heritage status. Primarily, they wanted the control to be with them and they didn't want to go into HRC or ASA. That is a sad story. When you see architectural innovations, this is going to be little verbose. Quickly, I will highlight some other things. You can understand the kind of progression and we can see them in pictures at a later point of time. So, we are talking about the kings of the Chola kings and what was the changes they brought in architectural innovations and some of the example locations. Did this exactly may not be the first one or the last one. So this is one of the prime example of this kind of a model. Somewhere around 8th century end in Nathamalai during King Vijayalaya period, there was a beautiful shrine. This is where the Panchayatana concept was expanded further with 5 to 8 sub-shrines around the main structure. Later on, his son Aditya elongated the Bhadrasala, the central Bhadrasala with the three costumes and then full stone vimanas and all this complexation. And one example is Tiruparanam. He also did lot of miniature panels, beautiful costumes, sculptures in Nageshwaram temple. And then after that, his son Parandaka did a wonderful innovation in Panchadeva Kosta, like in Pulamangai. We have 5 costas. Like normally, 3 costas will be there in a Shiva temple on north Dakshinamurti and west Vishnu, south Dakshinamurti, west Vishnu, and in north Brahma. What they did was, when in the Artha Mandapa also, they added 2 more on the south side Ganapati and on north side Mahishasuramurtini or Vishnu Durga. So it expanded to 5 Devakostas. In Srinivasanallu, the tala was getting extended in a great way. The costas got extended and become larger, and the hara was also becoming bigger. And in Kodsai temple, so in Ardha Mandapa, instead of just adding 2, they added 4 Devakoshas. And later, during Sundara Sola, the next generation, and during Sembil Madevi, there is a wife of Kandaradika, who was instrumental in converting most of the wooden temples into uh, granite-based temples. So this is Tirunellam is a favorite place for her, and where she has added two more costumes in Artha Mandapa and Mahamandapa. So total nine costumes. From three it becomes five, and then it becomes seven, and then here it is nine Devakoshas. Three in Karpagraha, and then two in Artha Mandapa, and two more in Mahamandapa. Then comes the middle Cholas, where Rajaraja did the grand temple in Tanjavur. This is two talas. The entire structure is two talas. Introduced Kumbha Pancharas, and then the temple is built with four openings. One main opening, and then three side W openings. His son Rajendra replicated the same in Gangaikonda Cholapuram. I have, for width space, I have mentioned it as GKC, please pardon. So it is again a replication to Tala Sandhara temple with internal garbling, and it is like a Stula Linga and done like the same model, almost little smaller version. Kumatunga, who was in the next generation, he is from Venki Cholas. He did. He is influenced by the Orissa architecture, where sun uh, worship is very prevalent. So when he was there, when he renovated one temple in Melakadapu, he converted this as a Ratha Vimana, and which has got a extended costumes which are standing out like anything, and the first tala with only Karnakudus. So that was the innovation which he did in his period. Then, after two generations, Rajaraja built a temple which is a beautiful. This is not like a grand temple of Rajaraja or Rajendra. This is a miniature temple, but with a fantastic Radha Mandapa. And this is the first time Amman Sannidhi or separate shrine for Parvati starts appearing. This is called Kamakotam. And then with musical Balipidam, and it is well known for miniature of 63 sages of Saiva Agamas. Finally, uh, the last grand king of Cholas, Kulotunga, built the fourth grand temple, the Vimana with the square hexagon circle kind of Karnakudu, where the Gopuram is as tall as the Vimana. This was in Tirubunam. Unfortunately, this was not listed under the United Nations monument for some political reasons. So you can see that from 800 till 1230, it has been consistently getting expanded with adding more features, more structures. We will see some of the examples in the temples. The first one, which we mentioned earlier, is the Vijayalaya Cholisuram, which is on top of a small hill up near Pudukkottai. This is done by Muttarayas, who were under Pallavas as well as Cholas. So the temple has got a square base and it has got two talas. If you see this, it is a mix where you have square base and a circular shikara. And it has got a Sandhara passage inside. And on the top also you can see an alidam, a passage, open passage around the Vimana. So like we said earlier, this is the second tala is the Arpita Hara, where the Hara is in touch with the wall of the Garbhagriha. Whereas here it is Anarpita Hara, where there is a gap or there is a alindam between the sanctum wall and the Hara. So this Hara structure also extends up to the Ardha Mandapa to form a portico. Other interesting component is the Parivara Devas. You can see the remnants of some of the Parivara temples, around 8 are there. Everyone is facing different direction, depending with the different shapes. This is for Vinayaka, this is for Murga, this is for Jeshta Devada. Like that, there are different smaller temples, and this Parivara temples have different domes depending on the type of Devata which is inside. So this is the first level of innovation by Cholas or uh, rulers under Cholas. The other interesting thing is by Aditya Chola in Tiruppuranam temple. If you see this, this has got a pure Nagara Vimana, and the Karnakutas, Nakula Stamba. This is coming for the first time. What you see is Nakula Stamba is this. These are called pilasters, where it is ornamental pillars. This is half pillars. Okay, only the visible half is there. This half pillar is again cut it into two as two quarter pillars. Okay, and then put it as a two side edges of a koshtam or on the Devatorana. This is called Nakula Stamba. Here you see the Deva Koshtam. This is something unique to Tamil Nadu temples and which is not available in Karnataka or Kerala. And you can see that the haras, instead of just being at this level, the bitty portion of the hara has been extended to a great height. So which gives a very tall appearance to the temple. Similarly, the griva also, instead of just being this much size, it is almost the size of the shikara, which gives a very, very tall appearance to. Also, if you see the third component, the gap between the prastara and the top of the haras is also very high. Even though this is tall, this wall is taller than this, so it gives a very, very tall kind of structure. This is something which they started innovating from this temple. And another innovation is normally when you split the vertical segment, you normally split it as three components, right? One Karnapati and one Karnapati here in the thing Salapati. This Salapati is having a Badram or the Sala. Okay. This is extended with two components called Upabhadra. When you have this Pati coming down here, you have put two additional pillars. And instead of having one koshtam in the middle, they have created three koshtams. So this is another innovation. After getting three koshtams here, we will expect there will be two more here and then we will have deities. Unfortunately, there are no deities here in the Karnasalas. There is a different things. So this is one side. Next, Parantaka did one beautiful innovation in Pulamangai, which is very near to Kumbakonam. This is a much neglected temple. Not many people visit, but it is a treasure house. Here also the vertical salas have been extended. When you say extended, there it was a vertical extension where it was elongated. Here these salas have been pushed forward from the plumb line. You can see this as a stretch here and the stretch here also. Whereas the Panjarapatis have been pushed back. So the central Sala has been pushed back to a great extent, and the Karnapati to a lesser extent, whereas the Panjarapati is fairly at the gradual level. And we see a different kind of a Panjaras which start from the base itself, not above the Adhisthana. It starts from the base itself and extends all the way up to Kapoda. Normally, if you see the Panjaras, a typical Panjara in the earlier one, this kind of Panjaras stop here. Okay. Whereas in this, the Panjaras extend up to the top. This is called Kapoda Panjara. Um, the other variation here is that the base of this Panjara and the Adhisthana of the Karnakuta are having different styles. So this is mentioned as Varga Bedam. This is having different bases. One more interesting point is that this contains a lot of Shudra Vimanas, small miniature Vimanas in many of the Nasikas. You can see one here, one miniature Vimana here. You can see one more here. And on this side, you can see one. Here also, we can see one more miniature Vimana on top. Like that, many miniature Vimanas are there. The next interesting thing is, if you see the Vedi Kanta, this is the Vedi. So you have your Adhisthana and then Padabandha Adhisthana and then you have Kapoda and everything. And on top of it, you have the Yalivedi. On top of it, there is a Vedi Kandam. In the Vedi Kandam, the corner portion, there is a series of miniature sculptures. This is the size of the sculpture. Around 64 from this side to that side and another 64 on the other side. One series represents Mahabharata and another series represents Ramayana kind of thing. Krishna Leela. These miniatures are beautifully documented and then there is a book for going through these miniatures. Interestingly, this temple was buried in sand when the river changed course and it was lying buried for more than 200-300 years and then it was excavated back. So there is not much damage in the structure and the stones and other things remain very sharp. Next is the Srinivasanallur Koraganatha temple around the same period. Here also you can see some changes and innovations. This is a Tvitala temple, but it looks like 4 tala, it's very complex. The base tala is there and then the first tala haras are extended with the biti getting full definition, almost like a Aditala. Okay. In fact, Aditala stops here, the same height here. On top of it, they extended haras and other things are there. Then the griva is extended, and you can see the shikara is bigger, whereas the griva is a little smaller on this. Okay, by looking into it, you will think that this is a Sandara temple. It is not. It is a Nirantara temple with no circumambulatory faces. This temple is known for the artistic beauty of its structure and the sculptures available here. The sculptures are beautiful, like the original Pallava style. It is in finer details. You have the main sculpture and also the surrounding scenery. This is your Dakshinamurti, and around him, lot of other sculptures are there. So this is another example of early solar temples. Now, we are bypassing middle Cholas and directly going to later Cholas. Like I said earlier, Kulothunga is from Vengi or from the Andhra country, and he had exposure to sun worship from his Orissa connection. So when he started ruling as a prime king in Tamil Nadu, when there was a old temple which was to be renovated, he renovated this as a Ratha type of a temple. And this is the only temple available in Tamil Nadu which is of the Ratha state, like how Konark temple or other temples are there. So this is how you can visualize the Ratha. You have two wheels and then there is a horse on the corner. And this entire stuff is like a Ratha with a grand Vimana on top. But later period, as usual, this temple also got extended, and then lot of the normal mandavas were built around this. So this is how the temple looks like this. So this is the old construction with the Vimana and Ardha Mandapa. And beyond this, this is a later period brick structure, a horrible brick structure, which obstructs the view and then mars the beauty of this fantastic temple. This was taken from an side angle. That's why we are able to visualize this. Otherwise, we won't be able to visualize this beauty. This has got some innovations which are different from the other temples. So this is the zoom view. So you have the horse here. I have not seen it. So you have wheels, and if you see this very distinctive kumadam with bands and very ordinary upapita to highlight the Ratha character. There are a lot of sculptures, and this has got a lot of Puranic stories, and all these Puranic stories are corroborated by sculptures that are available around this place. So Roma Rishi, and then Indra, Chandra, and then Agastya, Devendra, everybody has worshipped it here. So they have put sculptures, and they have, without any ambiguous thing, they have put inscriptions below sculptures that this is Roma Rishi who worshipped in the Treta Yuga. Like that, they have mentioned it. The next variation is like the modern days where the Dakshinamurti is given special status and special mandapa primarily due to money collecting capabilities, because many people come and pray him on Thursday. So the main pujari half the time will be here instead of the main Shiva temple. So at the time itself, they have extended the questions, and then if you see the 5 questions here, the questions have been extended and then built as separate mandapas. It is not like your Kandaharmya which we saw in the Kailasanatha temple in Kanchi, in Pallavas. This is extension of the questions by building mandapas, and this has been extended as a big Nasika, Mahanasika type on top of it. Okay. Normally, what will be here in this area, if it is a 2-tier Vimana, we will be having a Sala Sikara, which is missing. What we have here is only 4 Karnakutas. So that is another variation. If you see inside this, you will be having a lot of sculptures, beautiful Mohinis and other things, holding up the Kapota. It is like how we see it in Belur temple, the Mohinis, 64 Mohinis in various poses around the roof. The same structure they have tried to complete in granite here. And if you see the Shikara, here we have 3 shapes. Your base plan is square, and when you go to first Tala, this is hexagon. You can see the hexagon here. Okay. And then when you go to the Shikara and Griva, it is Vesara circular Shikara. So again, they have tried to replicate the Linga shape here. So this is a unique temple in terms of structure. Why I am highlighting this is that next time when you visit Tamil Nadu, these are the temples which you should not be missing. Now we come to the pinnacle, the Rajarajeshwaram temple. So this is the name mentioned in inscriptions of the big temple in Tanjavur. So this has got, it is mentioned as Devalaya Chakravarti. It is mentioned as Devalaya Chakravarti or Dakshinameru, saying that it is like a Himalaya on the southern side. It is the tallest and largest Dravida Vimana. You have 14 talas, the maximum that is defined in Agama. You have the first level Sandara circular passage here around the Linga. This contains beautiful sculptures as well as Chola period paintings. The level 2 Sandara here around this temple, where you can see it as a gap here, has got Karana Chappas. Like in Bharatanatyam, you have 64 Karanas. That dance poses are done as a sculptures around this corridor. This entire space is two tala where you have all the each side has around 5 to 6 costumes. So we have around this 21 Deva costumes in Aditala, and all over the temple we have 64 Parivara Devatas in the Prakara, in the Parivara Devata temples, total 64. And it has got the largest lingam in South India. So when we talk about Sandara, this is the structure where the weight of the entire Gopuram pyramid is split into two parts of the wall around here and here. So it starts from the third level and then splits into two separate walls here and then reduces the load. So you have two circumambulatory passages on the ground level as well as in the first level. So let us see how do we construct such grand temples. Let us take an example from Orissa, how they did it. So in Orissa, they built the Konark temple by doing heavy lifting by scaffoldings by elephant, and then they used iron beams to handle the talas and then the structure from one area of corbel to other. And then they used scaffolding to raise one by one and then had a minor slope, and they lifted by elephants. Okay, this kind of lifting was done with the help of elephants and then human power to raise this. So there are various types of scaffoldings mentioned in the project book of Konark. This is called Bayasakara, which explains in detail how Konark was built. I had done a separate presentation on Konark, on how Konark was built. So I shared the link also. You can see this for getting the details. Compared to this complex process, let us see how the big temple would have been structured. So primarily they are using a mud slope and an interlock block with no bonding. One thing is very shallow foundation with the large grain shifting sand, on top of it granite slabs. And the interlocking of blocks with no metal or mortar bonding, so that the stones are cut to the exact shape and with the two blocks in between so that it locks and then it doesn't shift. The double Sandara wall, which we showed earlier, okay, reduced with the cone, and you have a grand 80-ton shikara on top of it, which puts the entire structure like an arch and then sets it to the place without any additional iron beams or structures. To go to the higher area, there is a mud slope which was done to access the higher points of thing instead of scaffolding. So initially the base temple is built and first level structure raw stones and other things are stacked, and then one level of mud layer is built on top of it, covered, and then next level of a granite structure is like that. They will keep on building the mud slope as the temple grows, so that at any point of time you are able to put raw granites blocks on top of it. So this is one of the visualization on how they built it up to the pinnacle. So by now the entire temple is buried in sand with solid rock. Okay, and then they build this on slope and then build the temple to the top. Once the top is done, again this is like a easier way of monolithic temple. You have the rock blocks ready to get, and then they do the fine tuning and cut it to the proper shape in all the places. So this is how it would have been constructed, and this is the visualization done during modern times. So if you see this, in many places still we have remains of the old rocks which has been done in construction but not yet completed. So let us see the view of Brihadishwara temple. This is the view even Rajaraja Chola would not have seen. Probably he would have stood there in the Kalasa for the puja and then looked down here. But this is on top of the Kalasa, bird's eye view. How symmetrically and beautifully it is aligned in a single line and then grand thing. This is done before the Kumbhabhishekam. If you see the inside of the Vimana, this is primarily from the second floor. If you look up, you will be able to see this. This is how the corbelling takes place. So first two walls join here, and then from there the square one slowly gets shrink into lower area. Finally, somewhere here it goes into an hexagon, and then the hexagon shrinks and then turns into a smaller circle and stops near the Kalasa. So on top of the Griva and Kalasa, the weight of the Griva spreads over these four walls and keeps this stacking intact. This in Agama and other terms is called Kadali Karna. Kadali means banana, and then this is like a stack of bananas which is done with the top down kind of an approach. The same structure or the model is also adopted in building a gopura with a bowl and then adding blocks and then building a bowl structure inside. So if you look inside the gopura, this is a look from big temple gopuram. You see a structure where this is one half, this is one half, and then these are the openings in each of the talas. And this goes all the way up to the top. This is called Nabhi Chanda. Now we are going to see the four great. Now we understand how big temples are built and what is the engineering technology and structures are used. And then we see some of the inners also. Now we are going to see the four major temples. Three of them are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Fourth one technically should have been added. They wantonly came out of that classification. The first one is Rajarajeshwaram in Tanjavur. Second one is Gangagonda Chodishwaram in Gangagonda Cholapuram. The third one is in Dharasuram, Rajarajeshwaram. And the fourth one, which is not classified UNESCO, is Tirubhuvaneswara temple in Tirubhuvanam. All this at a distance of 40-60 kilometers nearby in a rectangle. If you see this, the similarity of structures and other things can be done. Uh, all the four are grand temple. We require a separate presentation to go through these four temples alone in detail. And there have been several presentations. We can share that at a later point of time. Interestingly, if you say this is a family of father, mother, son and daughter. If you see this is the biggest and tallest, and then it is a straight kind of pyramid. It's a male type of a temple, is what they people say. Whereas we see Gangakonda Cholapuram, it is slightly curved, like your Pandya South Gopura is slightly curved, and people say that this is a female counterpart of this one. So this is father, mother, and then we come to the son. Again, this is Rajaraja and again name is also Rajarajeswaram. This is again straight pyramid, and now come to the daughter. This is a curved kind of a thing, Tribuna temple. So we jokingly call them as a family of temples, father, mother, son and daughter. Now let us see some of the common features. Instead of trying to describe all the four temples in detail, I am putting it in a slightly different way, highlighting the common features. Okay, and all the four are named after the king who built the temple. They have been in worship on a regular basis, and even though it was done by Chola all the way up to 18th centuries and later Maratha and everybody, there have been continuous grants and support, and they have been functioning temples. And they are the tallest, highest class vimanas in Tamil Nadu, and rather in South India. And all of them have got very high Upapida and Adhishthana, which pushes them to a very grand height. In Tanjavur temple, they introduced Kumbha Pancharas as a new feature, and that was extensively featured in all the four temples. Many of the Devakostas, instead of having a single Devakosha, it is a composite panel with the descriptive attendance and other features around the particular Devakosha in a very complex mode. And the grand arches. Simhamukha become a finial become a major motif, and if you see the temple, this Simhamukha will be repeated in all the arches in a beautiful way. All this also have Savakasantala, which is a side step, not from front, so you can enter from just before the temple itself through this arrangement. And the first two temples have porticos above first tala as another small layer. And it has got side Ratha Mandapas. The Gopuras, the interesting point is these temples, all the four temples, are not developed temples. They are turnkey projects started from scratch. So, from day one, the entire temple was built in one shot. If you take the Pragadiswara temple, bulk of the temple was done in one shot. And later on, what was added is the Parvati temple, Amman temple, and two of the subshrines, Ganapati and Muruga temples, were added at a later point of time. But the main shrines, the two Gopuras, and then Prakara Malika, everything was done in one shot. Unlike the earlier Pallava and Chola temples, where somebody would have done this, somebody would have expanded on the Mukhamandapa, somebody done on Ardha Mandapa, like that. So these are commonalities. And then if you see the differences, this is the variations in terms of data. If you see the chronology, Rajarajeswaram was the first one to be built, and then others by later kings. King Rajaraja 1, his son Rajendra, 3 generations away Rajaraja 2, and Kulotunga 3. His last strong king of Cholas. So this is the highest one, and at the gradually descending order. In terms of Shikara, only this has got Arctic and Dravida Shikara. The rest of them have Vesaras. Talas, Rajarajeshwaram has got maximum 14 talas. And if you talk about Karnakotas, during the earlier period, like I said earlier, it was having only four component kutas, small kutas, and the Karnakotas. Whereas when it comes to Ayuravateswaram and Kambareswara, they are fairly extensive, four Parkutas with Adhisthana and Prastara clearly defined. In Devakostas, these three are very big and it has got maximum number of Devakostas, whereas here it is small, and in comparison it goes to only three questions in the entire table on the side. Sanctum almost same. First two are Sandara, the next two are Nirandara. Interestingly, Rajarajeshwaram and Gangakonda Chodapuram has got the Arthamandapa and Mahamandapa also two tiers. But later on, during war and other things, the second tier seems to be demolished and only one survives. Similarly, the perimeter walls also two tier and then it got demolished and used for other constructions. And only we see remnants of the one tier. Like I said earlier, the Gopuram has been structured as part of the original plan. So Rajarajeshwaram has got two Gopurams. Gangakonda Chodapuram, we have one base of the Gopuram, the rest has been damaged. When it comes to Ayuravateswara, we have one intact Gopuram, other one is damaged. And Kambareswara, we have beautiful two Gopuras which are still intact, and in fact they are taller or equal to the Vimanas. So with this, we stop the long story of Pallavas and go into Pandyas. Pandyas, so till this time, Pandyas were under Cholas, frequent fight, but they were always under Cholas from the once the Pallavas is done over. Later, around 13th century, Pandyas uprise and then they overrun, and then they start ruling the entire Tamil Nadu. There is a time where their separate innovations come out in a grand way. So during this period, Cheras are separate, the Hoysalas have taken over from Chalukyas, and Kakatiyas are becoming stronger, and the entire Tamil Nadu is under Pandyas. So Pandyas, again, Cholas have done maximum in Vimanas, so no point in going after Vimanas. So the Dravida Gopuras starts developing in a big way with nice, beautiful ornamentation, and the other mandabas are designed. The pillar structures, capitals get changed, and then due to the war and other situations, the outer walls are gradually built for all the temples. And temple as a fortress kind of a concept was developed during the Pandya time. Some of the major temples that are renovated and built extensively is the Madurai temple and the Srirangam and the Sriliputturu temple, which are famous for their initial Vimanas. So let us see one of the best temples of Pandya, which also had lot of later Vijayanagara period innovations, Nagaratara innovations also, but this started very, very old during very early period itself. So this is a place where Manikavachaka, the fourth sage of Shaiva canon, built this temple. The story is that he was a minister and then he was supposed to buy horses from Pumbugar and then bring it back. Instead of it, he got the divine view of Shiva here and then spent the entire money in building this temple, and later on all the leelas around this started happening. So normally Avadar Koil is very famous for its cornice work. So here we see the Kodungai or cornice. The Kapota is getting extended in the part of the Mandapa. This is the largest and most complex one that is available. If you see this, the Kapota is normally the concave shape, and beyond a point it becomes a convex and turns, and then it extends almost to 4 or 5 feet outside, and the entire thing is granite and has got counterbalance on the other side. So this is one of the noted features, but this temple is a collection of features and a treasure house which we should see. We talked about the cornice, and this is where I showed one pillar earlier with 500 temples in one pillar. So it has got two such pillars, and then it has got a collection of pillars where the pillars has got niches for burning lamps, and a series of pillars will be there during night time or during dark period. This used to be used as lamps, and it has got 27 stars as sculptures that is unique. Navagraha, normally they will have separate mandapa as sculptures. Here in the pillar, in each side, there is a Navagraha, and then people do circumambulatory around the pillars. Again, whatever the unique features which we have seen in many temples earlier, in the Mandapa class, like musical pillars and then paintings, varieties of horses through rock chain, all the innovations are available in one temple, which is Avadar. This is the architecture part. When it comes to the spiritual, this is one of the unique south-based temple, and the Shiva here doesn't have the full linga. So it has got only the base, and then there is no bana, and it is worshipped as it is on the logical mention. Similarly, the goddess Parvati is only a foot imprint, and there is no image there. There is a separate temple here for Manikavachaka, who wrote part of the Saiva Tirumurais. The interesting part is Naivedyam is directly submitted on the Banam for every day without any leaf or something, like how you put the meals on the Palipida. And Arati, when you have a Karpura Arati, it is done only to the deity, and it doesn't come to the bhaktas for doing our prayer. The interesting thing is during Grahana period also, this temple functions because the assumption is that this is Supreme Lord and then Grahanas don't affect it. So, in many ways, there is a unique temple, and in the temple entrance, they got a big board of around 40 unique things about this temple. Some of them I left it out for want of space and time. So, this is one temple which you need to see when you go. Next, Pandya temple, interesting temple, is the Tenkasi temple, which is near Kuttalam, a place known for its waterfalls. So it is a very later period construction, which was damaged during a lightning thunder strike, and it was rebuilt recently. And a grand thing with a lot of minute sculptures. You can see beautiful sculptures all over the place. Nadaraja and all the actions are there. And it is a very late period grand temple from Pandyas. And it has got beautiful sculptures in this area, in the Kalkar. Next, we come to Vijayanagara periods. In between the 1300, after Pandyas, the Pandyas were sacked by Muslim invasion. Two major events happened where most of the major temples were looted and destroyed, and all the gold and other things were taken back to Delhi Sultans. After this, Vijayanagara invaded and then removed the Muslim rule from Tamil Nadu, which was running for around 50-60 years. And then reinstated, and then they did the restoration. So with the available funds, they are also at the time expanding nation. With the available funds, they could do whatever they could. It may not be rich, but they did to recover and sustain the temples. So during Vijayanagara temple, the rest entire South India was there, and the major fight was with the Gajapatis on Orissa and Bijapur and Ahmedabad on the left hand side, Bamani Sultans. Again, their contribution is that most of the open area around Garbhagriha covered with flat mandapas and guarded situations. Okay, so that no, it is secure, and then we have control into the grand doorways and other things were put at this stage. This is where, in many cases, you get a confusion whether the temple is a Sandara or Nirandara or something. If you see a small shrine and you come out and then you go through a circumambulatory path, okay, this may not be a Sandara, this is the first Prakara. Because later period, the open first Prakara has been covered and then you think this is part of it, which is not. Sandara is something which is below the Vimana and this path will be out of the Vimana. And more elaborate work than Pandey Gopuras. Okay, their contribution is they took the pillar technology to the peak and then grand and large, wider mandabas, and they built expanded prakaras, normal 2 prakara, 3 prakaras, they expanded up to 7. And this is where, interestingly, the idols of the sponsored kings and queens started appearing. If you during Pallava period, we don't know who the king is because even in inscription they used to have only the title of the king and not the actual name of the king. When it came to Chola, there is fairly detailed documentation in inscriptions, but again, very rarely we get the sculpture of the kings who sponsored it. Whereas when it comes to Vijayanagara period, all the pot-bellied kings will be they don't cook up things. Pot belly, fat and short, everything, whatever is there, the actual persona will be portrayed as a idol in most of things. Whoever has donated, their idol will be available in praying pose in the mandavas. Temple tanks, temple cities got expanded. The major ones are the Rameswaram largest corridor and Madurai Chitra Mandabas, 1000 pillar temples, and the other Mandabas in Srirangam in areas, musical pillars and complex pillars. So they excelled in wide Mandabas by changing the pillar technology, which we saw in the Mandaba class. One of the unique temples during that period is Kalayar Koil, which has got a twin gopuras, which is a very old place, but later on they built these gopurams, and this is famous for during Marudh Pandya or the Shivaganga Nayakas period, where they started the first revolt against the British in 17th, 18th century. And that is where the last Shivaganga king was killed, and their generals Marudh Pandyas ruled this for some time. If you say this is 3 temples, Kalishwar, Someswar and Sundareswar, 3 major temples, and then all 3 are Shiva temples together in a place. It is very rare. Normally one Shiva, one Vishnu, one Parvati, or that will be there. Here in one place in parallel, 3 separate complete shrines of Shiva are there. And the main Rajagopura is to the right side, and this is this is the central shrine. Probably they would have built this as the main Gopura during earlier time. Later on during Marudh period, they might have built a larger Gopura on site. So this is the grand view and there is a big pond outside, and then this is the Nirali Mandapa inside the pond, and then on the background is the two Gopuras and the Vimana of the main temple. Such a beautiful temple, and this is under control of Natakotte Nagaratars. Then we come to the most popular Madurai Meenakshi temple. You can see that there is no open space except the temple pond here. The entire stuff has been done. This photo has been taken when the Kumbhabhishekam happened and the crowd was allowed on top to witness the Kumbhabhishekam happening in all the towers. So, grand temple with so many gopurams, and then where is the central shrine? Here. The central Vimana is here, and then there is another Vimana somewhere here. So this is the Amman temple, this is the main temple, and this is the Potramari Kudam, this is the pond, and there are a lot of subsidiary temples around it. So this was a earlier Pandya construction, except one or two Vimanas and structures. Most of the major structures were damaged during Islamic invasions in 1310, and then rebuilt by Vishwanatha Nayakas in 1530s. At the time, they rebuilt the city as per Agamas with the main straight line kind of roads and other things. And this has got the second largest number of gopurams, 14 gopurams, the tallest one 170, and then with the 3 prakaras. 14 plus mandavas and the lotus pond. So this is again a grand Pandya period temple, later expanded to a great extent by Vijayanagara Nayakas. And the main sanctum is a Indra Vimana with the Airavatam kind of sculptures on 3 Devakostas. The 1000-pillar Mandapam is a beautiful museum which you need to visit once. Then the biggest of all, Thiruvarangam, this is the Trichy Srirangam temple. It's the largest functioning Hindu temple, and Angkor Wat is larger, but it is not under active worship in Hindu. One of the 3 major temples of the Vaishnava category. It has been mentioned in till Sangam period, that is 3rd century BCE till 19th century. There is a beautiful document called Koil Olugu, where they have documented the happenings in each activity, each important function and other things over the years. And this is of great help. Like the Puri documentation, which is available in Orissa. That is the Madala Panchi. It has got 21 gopurams in all 4 directions, the maximum. The tallest one is 240. Now it is nominated for UNESCO in the tentative list. You can see the row of gopurams. Where is the central shrine? This is the elongated Vimana of Ranganatha with a Lalada Nasika on front. So from there, how many you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is on this side. That side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total 7 in a line and 7 here for the 7 prakaras. And this is a temple city by itself. You have 5 prakaras, and the outer prakaras are for the various type of people who live and then who support them. The Brahmins, the other merchant people, and the people who do implements. All these things lived here, and this is again done as per Agamas, where the Vastu Shastra mentions that this kind of structure should be available here, and this kind of structure should be expanded like this. Ultimate temple, and it goes up to 7 prakaras, 5 for normal and 2 more on the outer side. And maximum area, number one largest temple, 50 plus shrines, 31 plus mandabas. It has got 9 water tanks all over the place. And it has got 2 or 3 granaries to support this. A temple city by itself. And during later wars, it was under siege, and Muslims stationed their army for some times when it was under their occupation. So it is a temple, fort, and temple city. Now we are seeing the modern temples, next level. From 1700 onwards, the trend is that the Dravida style components have not changed. Instead of using lime and mortar and granite, now we are using reinforced concrete with iron shell. So, whatever is the complex shapes which people are struggling and trying to join two or three things, now we can shape very easily. So, it is very comfortable to create fancy shapes and then complex temples. Interestingly, they are not changed much. If you see the northern or in the middle India, the latest modern temples that are coming in rural areas are nothing but the local, whatever shape they could think of, it has been come up with no conformance to the Agama text. Whereas here, even if it is a roadside or a street side small temple, the basic structure, basic components, and the features are to a great extent conform to the agamas and the rules. That's why they look same, similar like a big temple. During this period, the major sponsors were Nagaratha, Natukode Chettiars, who were the merchant community. They were grand philanthropists, and they did lot of work in renovating and then adding lot of new mandabas around the spaces. The latest trend is that many of the old temples are being renovated with the mosaic tiles and side paintings, which spoil the granite finish. That is a dangerous trend that is coming up in modern temples. You can see this interesting modern temple. They created a temple in an apartment complex. Okay, they rented the first floor. So the Ganpati temple and all this are there, and you take the apartment stairs and then go up. So they have done converted this as a ornamented, and they have the audacity to name it as the Madakoil, like the temples that are done in Chola period, like Kochengana and things, which we saw earlier. So first floor is the actual temple with the sanctum inside. So they have decorated the sunshade as the kapota with grand kutas and salas on top of it, and built a small vimana on top of the first floor. So beautifully apartment complex they are converted into a temple. This also exists, but they are trying to conform to the old standards. If you see true modern temple, one of the grand temples here is the Vellore temple, which is meant for Shakti and Vishnu, and this is termed as gold temple, but it is not gold. The color is gold and painted in gold, and most of the scheme is gold color. The other one is the recent one in Kanyakumari. They have got a branch office of Tirupati temple, and then they have built it in a very, very beautiful strategic place, a little away in the Vivekananda Kendra, from where we can see the Vivekananda rock as well as the Thiruvallur statue. A beautiful scenic location. This entire ground floor is a mandapa, and first floor is a small temple. Around that, there are 4 subsidiary temples. So this is how modern temples look like in Tamil Nadu. So another 2 minutes, we will briefly look at some of the innovations in temple structures. This is the kind of Gajaprishta temples which were there earlier, which was a very, very common occurrence in North Tamil Nadu, particularly in around Pallava region. Then in Chola region, during early Cholas, Kochankanan built a different class of temples. There is a Purana which says that in the earlier life he was having a fight with the elephant when he was praying the Lord in Tiruvannakoil temple. So in the next birth, he has born as Kochankanan, and he doesn't want the elephants to climb. So all his temples were at the first level with the steps which elephants cannot climb. So there is a Puranic story, but this is a separate class of temples. The class is like that. The base floor Aditala is always like it has got the standard ornamentation outside, like the Adhisthana, Bitti, Prastara, all these things will be there outside. But inside, there is no open space, entire thing is filled with rubble. The actual temple starts from first floor and then there are stairs on the side to go through this. So in this temple, normal convention is that the stairs will be not from the direct front, it will be from the side. What you are seeing is one of the oldest the pedestal temples, which is the English equivalent of Mada Koil. Mada means pedestal. This is in Kanjipuram. Interestingly, this is a Jaina temple built during later Pallava period. So ground floor is bowl and you enter through this and there is a stair complex here and then enter into main temple here. So this is another form of temples. Here we see two different things. This is a place called Thiruvidai Kadi. Here we have twin Vimanas. The old one on the back is for the original Shiva temple. Later on, and they put one more temple for Muruga in the front, for which they have built a bigger and two Tala Vimanas in front. So this is a funny exception of a Vimana structure. Another interesting and unique temple is the Sirgadi temple. Yesterday also somebody asked for a question on that. This is not a Ashtanga Vimana. It looks like an Ashtanga Vimana with three sanctums. It is not an Ashtanga Vimana. The front portion Shiva temple, this temple, is a later period temple. The back portion is like a pedestal, like a Mada Koil, and you climb on top of it and the temple is on the first floor. The other temple is like the Griva Costa here. On the left side, there is a certain other incorporation of Bhairava. There is a separate temple worship on the side. So technically, this is two temples joined together. One old Mada or pedestal type temple, and then one normal temple in the front. The same logic like this. And we have some different temples here also. This is the Bhosaleswara temple near Trichy, Samayapuram. Normally, what we have seen here is that the Sala or the central Bhadra will be only one and it will be in line with this. Here there is a variation where you have a double Sala and double Karna. That is one variation or a uniqueness in this temple. This is a very late period temple built by Hoysalas. And this is old Chola temple in Vada Kurangadurai. The variation here is this is a Madakoil type of thing where the Aditala is full granite and then fully decorated. And then their first floor, instead of just building the Sala Kuda, they have built the entire temple again, repeating, more like the Kuranganil Muttam kind of style, which we saw in Chola temples. So these are all some of the unusual and the different temples. So with this, we come to the end of our journey into Dravida temples. And I am sure you might have got a fairly good insight into Tamil Nadu temples. So next time when you visit a temple, you don't you see the gopuram. So when you enter the gopuram, don't put your chapel and everything straight away go into the gopuram. Okay. Outside, have a nice chai. There are a lot of chai shops outside. Have a chai, sip it up, and then spend 10-15 minutes looking at the gopuram, the tiers, the sculptures, and gopuram contains a lot of local Purana stories. So even if your neck pains, whenever you go to a temple, always go with a pain balm or an iodex because you will be looking high and then looking low for a long time. You will definitely get neck pain. So after putting your chappals outside and then buying the puja items and everything, you cross the gopuram and enter into a courtyard. So you see what kind of toranas are there, Balipidam structure, Dwajastambha, what kind of an ornamentation there, what is the type of vahana they have, and then what type of mandapa is there. So explore all these things. Then when you enter the Mukha Mandapa, when you climb the steps, see the ornamentation that is available in the Mukha Mandapa steps. Once you reach the top, look below the kapota and see what kind of structure or complexity they have done in the kapota. That is the best place to look. Just to enter the steps, you will have a very clear view. Now we are entering Mahamandapa inside. So watch out the pillars. What kind of pillars Mahamandapa has? What kind of pillars Ardha Mandapa has? What is the variation? What is the structure? And see the cornice of these pillars and try to guess what is the age. See the windows, what kind of a window structures, jalakas are there. And then don't go straight, frequently look up. There might be some ornamentation and some sculptures on the roof. That also you need to notice. In Ardhamandapa, same story. In addition, you will be seeing the Dwarapalas, what kind of Dwarapalas, and then what is there in the lintel, the Lalada Bimba. What is there, Gajalakshmi or Navagraha, what kind of ornamentation is there? Then you have a darshan of the main deity and see whether there are some background sculptures and then whether there is a Ardha Mandapa or you have Sandhara type of circumambulatory path. If you are having doubt, you can ask the Pujari, they will be able to explain you. Whether there is a Pradakshina Pada inside or the normal Prakara outside is there. So you explore that. When you come out of, after having the darshan, you start watching what will be the Deva postures. Now I have mentioned what are the normal default Deva postures, in which direction what are the Deva postures will be there. So you watch out how the Deva kotas are structured, what is the Toranas in between, what kind of pilasters they have, square, round or three-part, and then the sculptures and all the ornamental embellishments like Kumbha Pancharas will be available in sanctum once. Then you go to the southeast or northwest corner, and then there is a southwest or southwest or northwest corners, and then view from there where you will see the Vimana. Normally in a east facing Vimana, the southwest or the northwest corner are ideal. From there you will have a good view of the tower. So sit down in the mandapa and then look what kind of tiers are there, how many tiers, what are the, are you able to identify Karnakutas, Panjaras, Badra segments and other things. That will give you a good insight. And then finally on the top, what type of shikaras, whether it is a Nagara, Vesara, Dravida, how many postums are there, how many nasikas are there, what kind of a nasika, that also you observe. And you also observe the small subscrines around the place, what kind of a location, in north what is available, southwest corner what kind of subscrine is available. This is your notes. whenever you go to a temple and if you have this kind of a notes, then it is easy to recollect, or if you want to write a travel dialogue, or if you want to do a blog post, or for your own reference, if you note it down in the sequence, it will be very easy. And this is how you can analyze the temple now and enjoy the beauty of Tamil Nadu temples. Thank you. It was a wonderful week enjoying with you all the details and fantastic structure and feedback. Continue. We will continue the discussions in WhatsApp.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thanks a lot, sir. And now I humble request to all of you, please on your video. Request to all for to on your video. Not audio, not audio, only video. Please remember, not audio, only video. And I request to other participants also, those who are on their PC or laptop, please take the screenshot, because sometimes here the problems. So you also please take the screenshot and send it in our group. So all are ready? Please on your video only, not audio. यहाँ पर मुझे अपना कुछ इंटरनेट का इश्यू होने की वजह से मैं सभी का ये नहीं देख पा रहा हूं, तो जिन्हें भी पॉसिबल है आप अपनी तरफ कृपया इसका स्क्रीनशॉट लीजिए और फिर हमारे ग्रुप में शेयर कीजिए. मैं सभी को रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं, प्लीज टेक स्क्रीनशॉट ऑन योर स्क्रीन आल्सो एंड शेयर इन आवर ग्रुप.
Yeah, at the time we can have only 7 into 6, 42 kind of an.
In our laptop, we can take 48 to 50 people also, sir.
Yeah, that's all. So it is better to take 2 screenshots and everybody's perspective will be different. And if you share
Yes,
this
yes.
screenshot, it is easy for us also to fix the face. So far, we have conducted the sessions on a different basis where you are not talking directly to us in a video, and otherwise it would have stretched for a longer period. So this is a chance to see all of us, and then
Yes.
have a great one.
Very true, yes. So yes, please not on your audio. Please mute your audio. It's okay. Thank you, thank you, thanks a lot. And now we'll proceed towards our chat box. चैट बॉक्स में जो भी क्वेश्चन आंसर है उसके तरफ अब अभी हम बढ़ते हैं.
Okay, so let me go through the questions. I don't think there will be many questions today. Interesting question from Dr. Lakshmi. Can we roughly say that Pallavas are fond of lion? Yes. And then Vijayanagara kings used horse motive was see, that is like a war motive. And then Vijayanagara kings used a lot of symbolism to rekindle the war effort and other things. And towards that, even in deities, they introduced some of the fierce deities like Veera Anjaneya and then Ugra Narasimha. All these deities were introduced during, it's a modified form of deities which are introduced during Vijayanagara period. If you see the old ones, Kevala Narasimha will be very happy standing alone and then with Lakshmi or somebody. Here, Ugra Narasimha is not like that. And same story with Veera Anjaneya. Anjaneya will be on the war front. It is not like he is being service to Rama and others. So that kind of an aggressive mode is there during Vijayanagara, and then the lion rearing horse, and then on below horse, the foot soldiers will be killing somebody or killing a lion. All this story will be coming. So primarily to enforce the dominance. Okay. Sneha Patwardhan, I am sorry, I used a local term Muruga. This is the South Indian term for Skanda or Kartigeya, the second son of Shiva. Subramania, even Subramania in many places in North, they don't know. Kanchan Joshi, as usual, good question. Vijayalaya Choliswaram, like I mentioned, it is a square base. But second tala, it is not second. Second tala is again square only. If you say Adi tala and first tala, there is no second tala. What you are seeing as a second tala is technically Griva. Griva is circular and Shikara is circular. So it is a Vesara Vimana. Sarangapani temple in Kumbakonam, front mandapa has a form of Ratha. It was built later period, later Cholas or early Vijayanagara Pandya period only. It is not the original one. Sarangapani temple, most of the structure is later period only. Ramjog, big temple with mud slope, yes, this is the same technology. They do it for pyramid. And then for pyramid, they also propose that they were using another technology of a counterbalance, where you have a pulley and then there is a counterbalance, where they profess that there is a counterbalance with the height, there is a big well shaft dug, which a counterbalance which goes down when you raise the block, the counterbalance goes deep into the well, like the lift, no? You have a basement, there is a shaft room, the basement. Like that, this has got an extended basement on the bottom, which by using pulleys, they used to raise it to great height. That is one of the theories people are progressing. Prasanna Venkateswar, in Avadiyar Kovil, all these unique things, I am not very clear Agama dictatures. There are some deviations and there are some local customs, and there might be a story or a justification or Purana for this. Okay. Interestingly, there is a temple in Chola period or in Chola country, which is called Oppuliyappan Koil. Oppuliyappan means a god without beyond compare or where there is no comparison possible. People have taken this literally, and then now the god is under pure BP diet with no salt. So Oppiliyappan they are taken as Uppiliyappan. This is Uppu is salt, and then the god is not given salt. So whatever he is eating now is without salt. So sometimes agamas get twisted in weird ways, and then ultimately what is agama is the practice and other things which has been codified into the standard text and then which gets refined over a period of time. Right. The Vanita's question is directed at Ujang, so we can answer that. Harish Srinivas, there are idols of Krishna Devaraya with his two wives in Venkateswara temple in Tirupati. Yes. Not only that, Krishna Devaraya idols are all over the place and local kings' idols are in many places. So there is a good example of some. Thanks, Harish.
Thank you, sir.
Vanajakshi, interesting question. You have heard that the shadow of the main temple doesn't fall on earth. Interestingly, the guides tell us that the story and say that you don't stand in the hot sun, you come into the shadow. Which shadow? The shadow of the temple. So it is a myth. So they are actually standing on the shadow of the temple and explaining the story. This is what happens when you have qualified guides. Special feature of early Chola period. I think I explained the special features in 4 slides. The miniature sculptures and then expansion of the costumes and to a great extent adding some of the embellishments and what I would say the pillars and other things in the Bitti got well defined. Where the Sangamera temples conforming to Agamas, Balakrishna. We don't know the Agamas at that point of time. Okay, some of the Agamas or some of the oldest Agamas were explained over word of mouth and codified into documents and then came into somewhere around 6th, 7th centuries. And then even that has been refined over a period of time from Mayamata and Kashyapa and then the other thing. If you see the progression of Agamas, the script and the complexity have been changing based on the experience. They also refine the Agamas. So at the time there might be some standards, and that is how it got refined. Interesting question. This ancient text of temple architecture were not in Tamil. And many of these things which we find now are in Sanskrit and written in Grantham, that is a special script created in Tamil Nadu somewhere around the Pallavas period to write Sanskrit in Tamil. Tamil, there is no mention for Kagaga, 4 variations. Okay, so this has added that complexity and which can write all the complex Sanskrit structure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. So again, thank you, lot of thank yous and then appreciations. Definitely, this has been a wonderful session, and hope I have conveyed most of the content. Even though it might be little overload, I did the overload deliberately so that you hear something, and then when you go back to the notes and then refer, you find something more, and then there is some reference points where you can explore into the next level. And this is how you expand your knowledge and then go into higher realm. So probably many of you I may meet when I go through the next level of higher complex temple architecture, where we go little more detail into the calculations and the finer components as well as the temple building activity. So that I am planning maybe at a later point of time when we come up with the course. This will be a logical extension of what you learned so far. Bala question on Pulamangai, a tributary of Kaveri which runs near that has changed the course, maybe Kudamurti or something. There are a lot of in this the delta area of Kaveri. It gets branched into too many small rivers. Thank you and appreciation from many of you. Bala, another question. Chola period is famous for inscriptions. Uh, the entire Chola temples, everything has got expensive inscriptions. You can refer to the Tanjore ones and the other inscriptions. This starts with ASI South Indian inscriptions, Volume 2. Volume 1 talks about Mahabalipuram and surrounding temples. Volume 2 is by Hulse, who found out the origin of the Tanjavur temple. Volume 2 extensively covers Tanjore. You can search volume 3 and 4 and the other series for the remaining temples. If you go to Tamil Nadu Archaeology Department website, you can also download books on the inscriptions. Temple walks we organize on Tamil Heritage, and I also do consulting for individual temple walks. This is question from Shantini. So if you guys arrange some 20 or 25 people, and then if you take care of the logistics, I am game for supporting you with my guide services, and that will be definitely a good, interesting time to spend around this. Bindu Subramani asked about Dharasuram musical steps. They are made of granite, and but maybe different densities, different composition. So they make different sounds, not on the sequential next, like Sarigama Padanisa. I'm not a musical person, but they have different sounds. Balipida is a place where we give offerings to the god. That is one version, and also the logical meaning is that this is where we submit or we bury or we kill our non-auspicious or bad thoughts. We kill them here and then go with a pure mind inside the temple. So here in this case, the Balipida is built like a small Vimana and put on top of Vimana with Ardhamantapa and everything. And to go and give puja to that, there is a step. That is the musical step, which is the access path to the Balipida. So rest, thank you from Murudal, Akshata, Bala, Shantini and others. And so very good. It was a wonderful experience. And like Bhujang Bopade said, the recording will be available with you for the next 72 hours. And it will be progressively one by one, it will be removed. So go with the earlier ones and then start taking notes. If you have time, it is better to read through this once and then take notes, so that whenever you visit a temple next time, you have a very good reference guide with you. And like I said in the last slide, it is better to analyze in that sequence. It is easy to take notes, and then it is a logical sequence in which you go and then start noticing things in it. So with this, we complete the question and answer session. If anything else is there, we can discuss. Otherwise, thanks for all the support. One, thanks Bhujang for making an excellent opportunity given to me, and then managing it in a nice manner with a smile always. And despite issues during the last week when we had some other things, and then when I asked also for some break for 2 days, he graciously accepted and said that let us do it. And he has been supportive all the time, and it was a joy. And it was a joy to discuss with all the learned people here, and it was a good experience. I look forward to continuing this conversation on a regular basis. I'll be available normally in the morning and evening, 1 hour or 45 minutes. And if any queries are there, you can always put it any time, and I'll be able to attend it whenever I find the time. So I may not be able to respond immediately, but definitely I will respond. So thank you. Have a great day. And then looking forward to see you in person sometime, or see you in the next class. One of the proposal is to continue this as an extension on Kerala and Karnataka temples. Maybe down the line, when it is getting arranged, we will also get connected there. Thank you.
We are also humbly thankful to you, sir.
The words.
No.
Thank you all.
Actually,
Have a great day.
we all are also thankful to you for give us such wonderful journey for all this our heritage, the great architecture, and really it's for me also being as a student. Just I can say that it's our humble salute for you and for your dedication in this field. All
Thank
the
you.
participants from Malaysia, our Balakrishnan ji, and from US and from abroad countries also all are here. And the great scholars like the Bala Shetty Madam, Chandrikanji, and our great guide, our just I forget the name, Rao sir. Just
It is a
so
joy, and then it is also a good way of getting connected with all these people.
yes.
And
So
it's a good network also. So we look forward to continue this kind of sessions in many of the other cities. Our aim, mine and Bhujang's aim is to spread the awareness about heritage to maximum number of people. So this is not on a big profit motive. This is primarily on. So if you can recommend to continue this kind of talks anywhere in your area or sphere of influence, that will be welcome. We are ready to conduct this kind of session so that our objective is we should spread it to maximum number of people. That is the main objective. So if you can help in pushing through your university or for college or in the local network, definitely this will be a good chance and to expand on the visibility. Thank you very much, and
Thank
see
you.
you soon in the WhatsApp.
yes, Bala ma'am, you want to say something, please?
No, thank you, Bhujan sir.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bala
thanks,
Madam, for today.
Thanks everybody.
It was a joy, and then
Thank you,
very,
everybody.
very interesting questions, and then we enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you.